Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to delve into the lore, the League of Legends lore. We're going to read through the biographies and the stories of each of the characters, and then we're going to do some kind of a timeline where we try to follow the timeline that is the League of Legends lore. I've tried to figure out where it actually starts, but as far as I understand, the nothingness came to be. Some god-type entity called Nagaka Boros came to be, the multiverse came to be, and the void and the main League of Legends universe came to be, and the Watchers came to be, and a lot of things just happened at once. Someone in the chat told me it's very similar to the Big Bang, but maybe further down the line we will have better understanding. If someone knows some inside information, please share. But I thought Aurelion Sol is a good place to start. Aurelion Sol, and then we continue on to Bard. And then we will see Kindred, Soraka, and so forth. Because we have kind of a timeline that we can follow and try to make sense of it. I know very little about the lore, but I always get sunken into lore, and I've never given the League of Legends lore an actual chance. And I'm sure there is a lot of interesting things that we can find together. If you guys have any feedback, please leave it in the comments below. I'm going to take a sip of my water, and then I will begin the read-through of Aurelion Sol's biography. Okay. Aurelion Sol, the Star Forger. Aurelion Sol once graced the vast emptiness of the cosmos with the celestial wonders of his own devising. Now he is forced to wield his awesome power at the behest of space-faring empire that tricked him into servitude. Desiring a return to his star-forging ways, Aurelion Sol will drag the very stars from the sky, if he must, in order to regain his freedom. The appearance of a comet often portends a period of upheaval and unrest. Under the auspices of such fiery harbingers, it is said that new empires rise, old civilizations fall, and even the stars themselves may tumble from the sky. These theories merely scratch the surface of a far more bizarre truth, that the comet's radiance cloaks a cosmic being of unfathomable power. The being now known as Aurelion Sol was already ancient by the time stellar debris first coalesced into worlds. Born into the first breath of creation, he roamed the vast nothingness seeking to fill a canvas of incalculable breadth, with marvels whose twinkling spectra brought him considerable delight and pride. A celestial dragon is an exotic creature, and as such, Aurelion Sol seldom encountered any equals. As more forms of life emerged to fill the universe, a multitude of primitive eyes gazed up and beheld his work with wonder and breathless pondering. Flattered by this audience of countless worlds, he became fascinated by their fledgling civilizations, who crafted amusingly self-centered philosophies on the nature of his stars. Desiring a deeper connection with one of the few races he deemed worthy, the cosmic dragon selected the most ambitious species to grace with his presence. These chosen few sought to unravel the secrets of the universe and had already expanded beyond their home planet. Many verses were composed about the day the Star Forger descended to a tiny world and announced his presence to the Targonians. An immense storm of stars filled the skies and twisted into a massive form as marvelous as it was terrifying. Cosmic wonder swirled and twinkled throughout the creature's body. New stars shone brightly and constellations rearranged at his whim. Appropriately awed by his illuminant powers, the Targonians titled the dragon Aurelion Sol and presented him with a gift as a token of respect, a splendorous crown of star gems, which he promptly donned. I don't know how to say that word, so I apologize if I butchered it. Before long, though, boredom drew Aurelion Sol back to his work in the fertile vastness of space. However, the further from the reach of that tiny world he traveled, the more he felt a grasping at his very essence, pulling him off his path, directing him elsewhere. He could hear voices shouting, commanding from across the cosmic expanse. The gift he'd received was no gift at all, it seemed. Outraged, he fought these controlling impulses and attempted to break his bonds by force, only to discover that for each attack against his newfound masters, one of his stars vanished forever from the firmament. A powerful magic now yoked Aurelion Sol, forcing him to wield his powers exclusively for Targon's benefit. He battled chitinous beasts that tore at the fabric of this universe. He clashed with other cosmic entities, some of which he had known since the dawn of time. For millennia, he fought Targon's wars, crushed any threats to its dominance, and helped it forge a star-spanning empire. All of these tasks were a waste of his sublime talents. After all, it was he who birthed light into the universe. Why must he pander to such lowly beings? He battles chitinous beasts. I am assuming he fought beasts from the void. Interesting. He clashed with other cosmic entities, I assume Bard, some of which he had known since the dawn of time. Has to be Bard. For a millennia he fought Targon's wars, crushed any threats to his dominance. Okay. As his past glories slowly vanished from the celestial realm for a lack of maintenance, Aurelion Sol resigned himself to never again bask in the warmth of a freshly ignited star. Then he felt it, a weakening in his unwilling pact. The voices from the crown grew sporadic, clashing, arguing with each other while some fell ominously silent. An unknown catastrophe he could not fathom, had thrown off the balance of those who bound him. They were scattered and distracted. Hope crept into his heart. Ooh, so we have some drama here on Mount Targon. Driven by the tantalizing possibility of impending freedom, Aurelion Sol arrives on the world where it all began, Rune Terra. It is here the balance will finally tip in his favor, and with it, civilizations across the stars shall bear witness to his rebellion and again play audience to his might. All will learn that fate befalls those who strive to steal for themselves the power of a cosmic dragon. Ooh, that is tight, man. That is exciting. Very exciting. Let's read Aurelion Sol's story. Twin Dawns. This world's familiar sun still hides below the horizon. Crude and unpolished earth unfurls below. Mountains contort into barriers that stretch like fingers across empty scrub lands. Palaces, or rather what pass for palaces, fail to loom over anything but the squattest of hills. The curvature of the planet meets the stars with a serenity and grace few of the dwellers below will ever witness. They are so scattered across the globe and grasp so blindly for any sort of understanding that it's no surprise they've been conquered and don't even comprehend their predicament. The fiery sheen I've gathered as I streak toward my preordained destination illuminates the world beneath me. Pockets of warring, fearful, rejoicing life tucks itself into any fertile nook it can find below. Oh, how they gaze and point as I streak over their heads. I've heard the names they call me: prophet, comet, monster, god, demon. So many names, all missing the mark. In a vast stretch of desert, I felt the twinge of a familiar magic emanating from the seat of premier civilization amongst these savages. Lo and behold, a massive sun disk is under construction. The poor enslaved laborers beat their heads and rend their clothes in my wake. Their cruel masters see me, a streaking bolt of fire, as a portent of good omen, no doubt. My passing will be etched in their uncouth pictograms upon common stone. An homage to the great comet, the blessing of the sky god gracing their holy works, and so forth. The disk's sole purpose is to funnel the sun's majesty into the most renowned of these fleshy humanoids, transforming them into exactly what this planet needs, more insufferable demigods. This effort will undoubtedly backfire, but I suppose they might last a brief while, perhaps 1,000 years or so, before they fall and are supplanted by others. Apologies. Sip of water. The pastoral scenery belies a field spattered with blood and littered with the dead and dying. Survivors hack away at each other with rough-hewn axes and scream battle cries. One side is losing quite badly. Stag skulls rest atop pikes stuck into the soil next to the writhing warriors? The few still on their feet are encircled by soldiers riding great shaggy beasts. Those defeated, surrounded few see me, and valiance seems to surge through their veins. The wounded rise and grasp their axes and bows in a final stand that throws their foes off guard. I don't linger to see the rest of the little clash play out, because I've seen this scenario unfold 1,000 times. The survivors will scratch my comet likeness onto their cave walls. In 1,000 years their descendants will fly my image on banners and undoubtedly ride into tediously similar battle. For all their efforts to capture and record history, one ponders why they do not learn from their mistakes. That is a lesson even I had to suffer. I leave them to perpetuate their bleak cycle. My trajectory reveals more inhabitants. Their collective repertoire of reactions span the typical gamut, pointing, kneeling, sacrificing virgins upon stony altars. They look up and see a comet and never ask what lies beneath the blazing facade. Instead, they stamp it onto their own self-centered worldviews, muddying the splendor of my visage. The few more advanced life forms, and I use that description loosely, gaze up and jot down my coordinates in scientific almanacs instead of using me as a prophecy fodder. It's mildly refreshing, but even their developing notions of intellect seems to indicate I am a regularly appearing phenomenon with a predictable orbit. Oh, the feats they could accomplish if only, well, no use dwelling on the wasted potential of the simple-minded terrestrial born. It is not entirely their fault. Evolution does seem to have a difficult time gaining traction in this world. But alas, the novelty of such infantile antics has worn thin. The grasping energies of our magical bondage have dragged me from one paltry world to another for centuries. Now it has led me back to this familiar and unpleasant rock. The star that floods its surface with light was one of my earliest creations, a confluence wrought of love and radiance. Ah, that cherished moment when she flared to life with colors only her creator could see. How I miss a star's crackling new energy, warming my face and trickling through my fingers. Each star gives off a unique energy, precious and reflecting its creator's soul. They are cosmic snowflakes burning in defiance of the infinite dark. Unfortunately, the memories I long to dwell upon are tainted by betrayal. Yes, this was the place where Targon lured me into servitude, but now is not the time to linger on past mistakes. Those musty aspects want me to seal yet another breach, in their name, of course. Then I see her. This world's imbued warrior is alone at the peak of one of the smaller summits, brandishing a starstone spear. She watches me through a veil of annexed flesh, a mere spark masquerading as lightning. A thick braid of upborn hair is draped over her shoulder, falling over a golden breastplate that covers pale, freckled skin. Her eyes, the only bit of her face not shielded by a battle-worn helmet, flash a jarring shade of red. She calls herself Pantheon, the warring fury of Targon incarnate. She is not the first of this world to wear the Pantheon mantle, nor will she be the last. Her glittering cape flaps out behind her as she raises her muscled arm and makes a motion like she's pulling on a great chain. The tug of my crudely enchanted tether wrenches me off course toward the mountain upon which she stands, and she's yelling at me. She cries out with a voice that booms inside my head, transmitted through this insufferable star-gem coronet. All sounds fade as she invades my mind. "Dragon," she says, as if I'm a weak-winged beast of base orange flame, lucky if it can ignite a tree. "Seal their gate," she commands, gesturing to the bottom of a rocky crevice with her pointy little spear. I don't need to see the violet erosion of reality swirling below. I could smell the festering miasma that poisons this world before I even arrived. I fix my eyes on Pantheon instead. She expects me to fall in line like a dog on its leash. Today will be different, for I have learned from my mistakes. "Dragon," I purr, "are you sure commanding me with such a low name is wise?" Pantheon's grip on her spear loosens just enough for her to fumble the weapon for a fraction of a second. She takes a step back, away from me, as if a single stride's distance could protect her from my ire. "Seal their gate," she says again, barking louder as if perhaps the previous command went unheard. Her volume does little to mask the quiver in her voice. She thrusts her spear towards me, as if such a tiny weapon could pierce me. This is the first time I've ever seen an aspect of Targon shaken. She is not used to having to tell me twice. "I will deal with those chittering horrors in due time, dear Pantheon." "Do as you commanded, dragon," this Pantheon shouts, "or this world is lost." This world was lost the moment Targon surrendered itself to arrogance. I feel Pantheon's seething mingle with confusion as she struggles to grab hold of my immaterial reins. She's only just now sensing what I've come to learn. Targon is distracted and does not sense its magic faintly ebbing from my bonds. Pantheon bellows once more, and this time I cannot resist. The crude enchantment regains sovereignty over my will. I turn my attention toward the source of the breach, nestled in the basin of the once verdant valley, now strangled with creeping purple miasma. I sense the void-born perversions of life, tunneling through reality's firmament, sending tides of unseen energy coursing through the ether. heather? They shred the veil that separates nothingness and form with their unwelcome passage. They are drawn to me, those multi-eyed carapaced abominations. They seek to devour me, the greatest of their threats. From the reaches of my mind, I conjure an image of the solar furnaces I kindled before my fettering, which once ignited the heart of stars. I lance out beams of pure starfire and incinerate wave after wave of those gnashing horrors, driving them backward into their oblique infinity. Smoldering husks rain from the sky. I'm a little surprised they aren't wholly disintegrated. But then again, the Voidborn don't know how things work in this universe. A pulsing sickness lingers in the air. From the epicenter of the corruption, I feel a will, hungry and indomitable, and far from the typical mindlessness I'm accustomed to from these void-born aberrations. The pulsating wound on reality yawns and buckles, distorting and warping all it touches. Whatever exists on the other side is laughing. Pantheon shouts another command at me, but I ignore her words. This anomalous fissure in the universe entrances me. This is not the first of its kind I've had to deal with, but this one feels different, and I can't help but admire the marvelously terrifying manipulation of the barriers between realms. Few beings could fathom its complexities, let alone possess the sheer magnitude of power needed to rend the fabric of existence. In my heart, I know a wound so exquisite could never be orchestrated by scuttling creatures. No, there must be more behind this intrusion. I shudder at the thought of what kind of entity is capable of inducing such a volatile rift. I don't need Pantheon's barked orders to tell me what to do next. Her array of requests has always been of a rather limited imagination anyway. She wants me to hurl a star at the rift, as if one can simply cauterize such moldering interdimensional abrasions and be done with it. These obtuse demigods are my captors? Fine. At least they're not too far off in their logic by thinking a few searing cosmic wonders will remedy this problem. I will play the role of the obedient servant just a little while longer. I enjoy what I do next, partly because they'll remember it, partly because it feels good to let a little of the old power loose, but mostly because I wish to remind whatever intelligence that controls this void incursion that nobody laughs at me in my plane of existence. The base elements in the atmosphere rally to my cause, accreting into a plasmic anomaly. The swelling stardust detonates at my unspoken command. The result is a dwarf replica of one of my majestic glories, burning in the depths of space. After all, I can't fling a full-fledged star at this fragile world. The young star's shimmering brilliance flies from my hands. It is joined by two sisters, always by my side. They careen around me in a radiant ballet, their white-hot cores devouring the gathering clouds of dust and matter I draw towards us. We become a storm of stars, the night sky incarnate, a maddening gyre of starfire. I conjure eddies of searing stardust, exhaling a heat so pure and dense it collapses the aura of this world just the teeniest bit, forever marring the planet's curvature. Coruscating strands of stellar flame pirouette from the center of the rift. Gravity melts in undulating waves of color most eyes will never be able to witness, My stars warp matter as more fuel coalesces into their cores, causing them to shine brighter, burn hotter. The whole spectacle is breathtaking, a cascading dance of blinding light and searing heat so hot that for a fleeting moment, new spectra are birthed into existence. My spine tingles just a little bit at how good it feels. Trees splinter, rivers evaporate, the mountain walls of the valley crumble in smoky avalanches. The tireless laborers erecting their sun disk, the soldiers taking the hill, the stargazers, the worshippers, the terrified, the doomsday prophets, the hopeless, the rising kings. All those who beheld the streaking comet with selfish eyes witnessed the ensuing supernova as an early dawn. Across this pitiful globe, my radiance turns darkest night to blinding day. What fictions will they conjure to explain this phenomenon? Even my Targonian masters have rarely witnessed such display of my power. Certainly, no terrestrial world has ever borne scars as severe as what is left of that once verdant valley. When I'm finished, nothing remains. Not even this incarnation of Pantheon. I can't say I'll miss her or her mindless barking. In the glowing aftermath of my carnage, the smoldering once mountains collapse into the molten rubble, streams now flowing through the valley. This is the scar I have left upon this world. A surge of damning pain shoots through my body, radiating from that infernal crown. I am about to pay. My head snaps up, and my eyes drink the bitter sight of a dying star. My heart's clasp shut. My mind's reel. An overwhelming sense of despair ricochets through my very soul, emanating from a deep and immediate sorrow, like the pulsing realization you've lost something precious, and know it's all your fault. Some curious life forms I met long ago once asked how it was possible for me to remember every star I've created. If only they could feel what it was like to create a single star, they would understand the sheer irrelevance of that question. That's how I know when one of my darlings winks from existence, ejecting jets of energy and, with it, the very substance of my own spirit. I see her death knell in the heavens above. She shines brightly one last time in a pyroclasm that momentarily drowns her brothers and sisters. My heart shatters as the heavens are diminished in brutal retribution for turning my power on one of Targon's own. A sun is the price of a single pantheon. This is the cost of my unfettered wrath. This is the kind of boorish sorcery I must deal with. Within seconds, they've regained control of my reins and call me to a new task. On no other world have I exhibited such display of freedom, no matter how fleeting it was. What's more is that I have learned from their mistakes. A bit of me is free now, and in time, I'll return to this world, tap into this mysterious well of energy, and cast off the rest of my tether. I tune into that essence of war, twisting and contorting within fleshy vessels scattered across the cosmos. It wasn't happy about losing its mortal avatar on this world. Already, a new doomed host has been chosen to transform into the next iteration of Pantheon. A soldier from the Rakor, a tribe who cling to the base of Targon's mountain, siphoning off its power like barnacles. One day I shall meet this new incarnation of Pantheon. Perhaps he will learn to find a new weapon and abandon that ludicrous spear. I sense Pantheon's celestial kin, scattered across the cosmos. In a single instance, all of their attention is focused on this world, where one of their earthly aspects was vaporized by their own weapon. Their confusion is mingled with a growing desperation as they contend with each other to regain their control over me. How I wish I could see their faces. As I launch myself from the gravity of this world, this Runeterra, I sense an emotion I have never felt from Targon before. Fear. That is amazing, man. Wow. I feel really bad for Aurelion Sol, man. This is very interesting. But the timeline is a bit scattered because we went from the beginning to Targon. And Pantheon still has that ludicrous spear. I'm assuming a soldier from the Rakor, a tribe who cling to the base of Targon's mountains. I'm assuming this is Pantheon. And I'm assuming he's alive and well. But Aurelion Sol just wants to create stars. I wonder what's gonna happen when Aurelion Sol is completely free. Because this is, you know, there's a sense of revenge that lingers here. And then I wonder who opened the rift to the void. I wonder who opened the rift to the void. I wonder if it was Malzahar or whoever it was. But we will continue with Bard and Kindred, and we will see what comes next. If you know anything about how Runeterra and the whole galaxy and nothingness and the void was created, or who Ilawi's god, Nakabababoros, or whatever it's called, then please leave it in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you guys on the next one, yeah? Bye-bye.